YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, coming to you from Athel Tamarha. No, not from the prison itself, where Malekith is being tortured by having to act nice and be polite to people. Yes, there is cruel and unusual punishment in Athel Tamarha, but we won't be seeing that today. Speaking of cruel and unusual punishment, is that the case for the dwarf who takes the Skyhammer, or is that the case for the army that uses or has it used against them? So yes, we do have the Skyhammer here, which is a gyro bomber. Gyro bombers do have the capability to fire whilst moving, which is a feature that, in my opinion, should be on all gyrocopters, not just gyro bombers. I believe that fire whilst moving should be a thing on brimstone guns, the steam ones, every gyrocopter. It would help dwarves significantly and reduce their dependence on magical slowing abilities, which seems to be their only real answer to stuff like this, which is chariots. Speaking of the dwarves, let's go take a look at their build while the Skyhammer does some work here. It is Thorgrim Grudgebearer along with Felix, and Felix is going to be providing him healing. There's a front line of Longbeards with great weapons. You bring what you gotta bring, but those will get wrecked by Chaos Infantry, but they'll trade some. I don't know if I can say well. There are two Thunderers. We do have the Dragonback Slayers, and we got Ulthar's Raiders here, which is one of the units that are necessary to help get rid of stuff like chariots. And speaking of, here comes the chariots. Now, as for Chaos, they do have two units of chariots. They have a Marauder Horseman with axes, a Exalted Hero on a Manticore, Sarthorael, and then there are a bunch of warriors and warriors with great weapons, as well as some Chosen and other infantry. Ulthar's Raiders are able to get them marked by Ulthar on this chariot unit. It's going to take a lot of damage. You can see the horsemen trying to get some damage against Thorgrim, but that was ill-advised. And the Skyhammer continues to be the target of the Exalted Hero, while getting shots off occasionally on key targets like these chariots. Now, on this flank, the chariots are still very much more alive than they were the other flank. The other flank, they took heavy damage and won't be in the fight for very much longer. The Exalted Hero now is just doggedly chasing the Skyhammer, and you can see now that the Everwatcher is here. And he did get a final transmutation overcast on to the middle of this dwarf army, and it hurt a lot. You can see the damage that was caused there, because there's not been any melee really so far. Felix took huge damage. The Longbeards all took damage. See the Dragonback Slayers doing their best to get the chariots out of here, and they are going to succeed, at least for the moment. But the Everchicken is going to do his pull-through thing and just start pulling through. The Longbeards with great weapons go to try and hold the line. They will lose that line. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Longbeards with great weapons are pathetically bad in melee with anything that's near their own tier. They are, in my opinion, some of the worst performing infantry, but their cost isn't bad. It's not bad, and their leadership is very good. Now, standard Longbeards I tend to like better. Now, they wouldn't be much better in this scenario, but because their shields, they tend to last a little bit longer in a fight, but neither unit is going to do well up against Chaos, and like I said, you got to do what you got to do. He picked the Longbeards with great weapons because they'll do more damage than other units. And check it out here, the Skyhammer continues to be the target, and finally, the Exalted Hero, after taking massive damage, gives up the fight. He can't catch him. The Everchicken's doing good damage, but look at this, some warriors with great weapons are breaking through. The dwarf's front line has all but collapsed, were it not for Thorgrim and Felix. But now that the Skyhammer isn't being busied, it can start to drop its bombs, and it gets some right in the middle of these Chosen who are trying to push through, and it was a pretty good bomb. And speaking of bombs, he's not done yet, so death from above for the Dawi as more bombs rain down. And Chaos was looking very well positioned to win this match, but now they are taking some pretty gruesome damage from the Skyhammer, who's going for a shot here on these Chosen as well. And if they land these bombs, it was decent. That wasn't a great bombing, but it got some work done here against the Chosen. You can see that the Exalted Hero came back from routing and actually finally managed to accomplish what he had tried so hard to do before, and rout the Skyhammer, but not before being shot to death in his final attempt to do so. The dwarves are in some pretty bad shape here. There are some warriors and miners holding this flank, but not great for the dwarves. Right here, the guns get caught, but at least they're providing a back so that the Ulthar's Raiders can chuck their armor-piercing axes into this fight. You can see that we're going to get some bombardments here from the Ever-Chicken, and the fight is on. And Thorgrim and Felix are going to be tough, and now they're surrounded by poisoning slayers here as well. So this is not going to be easy for Chaos to break up, no matter what units they bring in here. And then the Skyhammer is back. It's not done hammering the skies. It even still has some bombs, which I'm assuming it intends to drop very soon. And it is looking to, oh yeah, it wasn't a bad drop. One of the bombs landed square in the middle. Oh, a second salvo there. The Skyhammer is doing some tremendous damage. You won't be able to see how much damage, unfortunately, because CA please, you need to fix it to where the damage from the bombs shows up on the model. And not to mention, it'd be nice to see damage numbers and not just kills. At this point, the dwarves are still slightly down according to the power bar, but Chaos has a problem here. The problem is, how are you going to deal with Thorgrim, who's dishing out massive damage while being healed by Felix, who's also dishing out some pretty solid damage. Meanwhile, the Dragonback Slayers are poisoning everything that is near this fight, and you can see the Skyhammer just picking off units as it goes with the rest of its ammunition. The Skyhammer is not typically a great pick, though it has certainly made its presence felt here. I think there are occasions where a standard gyro bomber can do pretty well. Like I said, I'm actually somewhat impressed with what the Skyhammer has been able to accomplish here. It lured the exalted hero to his ultimate death, was able to bomb out several key infantry fights, and then support Thorgrim in this fight later in the game. So Chaos is in some pretty rough shape now, and there are some Thunderers still alive for the Dawi, though the Ever-Chicken and his forces are chasing down some routing Dawi troops as well. There was a regrouping unit out here. This is going to be a Thunderer unit, but it's going to be hit immediately by a Marauder Horseman with throwing axes. Although well armored, the Thunderers aren't going to stand up in their current strength level to those Horsemen. Thunderers have a nice position here up on this height, and they are firing into the backs of these Chaos Warriors, managing to damage some and kill others. The Agent of Change here, looking to change the stunties into dead stunties. He's going to be somewhat successful, at least for the moment, in his attempts. So the Dawi are now left, like I said, with just Thorgrim and Felix, mostly. There are a few Dragonback Slayers and a couple of guns, and then the Skyhammer was busy cleaning up some of these routing infantry, again, being useful where it can be useful. See what Chaos does. They need to regroup and prepare for an attack. The Dawi are pretty much ready. They've got a good position, and they've got range. Chaos can't stay away from them forever. You can see they're going to go ahead and maintain their position on this hill. The Horsemen were trying to get behind them, and it took some shots from the Thunderers for their trouble. You can see the Dragonback Slayers looking to head them off, and the Thunderers are getting nice shots from up here, and Chaos just can't afford to take too much damage. Look at this cheeky charge here by the Skyhammer. Just a quick in and out hit. And then Thorgrim and Felix await. Thorgrim, no doubt, getting excited to potentially check off the grudge against the Ever-Change, or the Ever-Change here of Sarthorael. He changed the lunch menu at one point, and that was definitely a grudging for Thorgrim. He was really had his mind set on that ale, a nice sandwich and ale, and the Ever-Changer changed it to Chaos Fried Chicken. And like I said, Thorgrim was none too happy about said change. See the Horsemen trying to get to the Thunders. They're not really going to succeed. The Dragonback Slayers are going to head them off, and then the remainder of the Chaos Infantry engages the Skyhammer with Thorgrim and Felix, but Thorgrim and Felix are putting out a beating, and while Chaos loses hit points every time they swing their weapons, Thorgrim and Felix are gaining hit points at this point because of the special ability from Felix, and so the power bar is shifting rather quickly. Many of the Chaos Warriors rout, and this leaves the Ever-Chicken to face the two mighty heroes all by himself. And if there's one thing that the Ever-Chicken doesn't really like, it is getting into a melee with some other pretty stout heroes. It's not really his thing. His thing is more of a disruption and support. He doesn't really want to get into a large melee. You can see there's a couple of Dragonback Slayers still here too. They'll be poisoning him every time they get a hit and making it more difficult for him to move away and cycle charge. And again, as Felix is in melee, there will be healing. You see the Thunderers become the target of the wrath of the Ever-Changer here. Ever-Chicken? Ever-Changer? Agent of whatever the heck this guy is. Sarthorael? Sarthorael? How do you pronounce this guy? What should we call him? I'm good with just Ever-Chicken. He has so many names. So many names. Zinch's Chicken. Chaos Eagle. I mean, whatever we want to go for here. I really like him, though, because doesn't he kill the pro guy in the campaign? I can't stand that announcer. And if he does, then he's kind of a hero of mine. But yeah, the dwarves are going to pull this one back. It's going to end up being a really close battle, but the Skyhammer ends up being a pretty important and clutch unit in this battle, which is saying something because we rarely ever see that. In fact, it even helps kill the Chaos leadership there at the very end, so a pretty impressive story from the Skyhammer. Again, we're not going to see all the kills or the damage from it. CA, please fix that. Console of Rome's really been busy sending me replays, and I appreciate it. He's had some really good ones, especially since I've been behind on playing some multiplayer of my own, but we will be rectifying that in the coming week. I appreciate Console of Rome and all the others who have submitted replays during this time when I'm busy. It helps me immensely, and I love getting your content. This is some good stuff, and a couple of good players having a good time together here. Love the dwarf build, the combination of Thorgrim and Felix. You don't get to see Thorgrim all the time. It's pretty cool stuff. Longbeard's got absolutely crapped on, but like I said, what else are you going to pick at this point? They're just the better pick, but I mean, Chaos just owns the dwarves in melee. You get into a good melee, and Chaos is going to own that on multiple fronts. And they did a pretty solid, I mean, look at this, even just Marauders with great weapons hacking through the dwarves. It doesn't take much. They're pretty darn good at what they do when it comes to killing stunties, but the Skyhammer clutching this one out. I think Chaos would have won this one because they would have had too much infantry left had the Skyhammer not come through and dropped the bombs where it did. And so this is a very interesting battle where I get to say that the Skyhammer was likely the clutch unit here. So death from above, it worked out for the Dawi, and they survived this particular Chaos invasion. Zinch is going to have to change who he sends. Oof, the bad ones, bad jokes. Anyway, hope you all come back for another video. If you are one of those people watching this and you aren't subscribed, please feel free to do so. We would love to have you subscribed, and it keeps you up to date with all the content. For those who have been subscribed for all these years, thank you, appreciate you being here, and for everybody who watched the video today and liked it, if you could do your part to help support me and just go hit that like button if you enjoyed watching this video, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you very much. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you all soon.